All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. We have two guests backstage right now. We have Joe and Michael from Solar Systems. They're going to be talking to us and giving us an introduction of the 88 constellations. Really, the way I see this is an expansion of astrology and so many more things that we all really need to know. Joe was talking to me one time about where my solar system is and this Pisces constellation at the ankle of this star. And it was just like super duper interesting, really working into our moon signs and what that reflection can show and reveal to us in our day-to-day lives at a soul level when you dig into past lives. So without any further ado, definitely hit the thumbs up. This is your AstroShaman Pernell Bobby. We are generating an economy, okay, of harmony, leveraging human designed astrology. All right, the combination of the two. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my two guests in from Solar Systems and say welcome. They're going to introduce themselves. Bam.
Hey, what's
up,
going
y'all?
on? I'm Joe.
I'm Michael. What's up?
Yeah, and today we're going to be breaking down the fixed stars, the 88 constellations, how that applies to you, your past lives, and how that is the bridge of your incarnation as a soul on this planet here, through the moon, through your chart, and into your solar system. So yeah, basically we can get into it real quick with the actual 88 fixed stars. So as we know, there's 12 zodiac signs. And in between different styles of astrology, whether that's Vedic, the sidereal, or the Western tropical route, they calculate off of two things. And a lot of people don't know that one is based off the pure spaces in the sky, and then the other is based off of the stars and the actual, 12 zodiac constellations that were born out of those spaces that occupy our ecliptic and all that stuff. So with that being the case, this energy is very powerful once you actually look at the moon and you get more into astrology, because you'll start thinking, moon, the only actual planet in our chart that can really make decisions based off what we actually experiencing, right? So when you get deeper into that and you start understanding the actual reflections of what's going on, what's the next natural step to look towards? The constellations, right? So if we're dealing with the actual constellational space and all of that external lights that are being reflected off of our moon sign, wouldn't it make more sense to expand that out into the total constellations, right? So with that being the case, what we sort of developed is a means to pick based off of your very unique specific moon degree. We look at the actual constellation, the actual star, as well as the energy that combines all of that together to sort of create your own unique moon sign. Because as we know, when we're dealing with astrology, and as you've probably like talked about in human design and stuff, a lot of people can have the same energies, the same chart, but it's all about the spirit or the soul that incarnates in the body making all of those decisions, which is what we do. And once we sort of like break that down and get much deeper into that, we'll start, I'll let you know, you can pull up the solar map and we can basically break down how we sort of do our own little variation of like human design off of the actual chakra systems that we've expanded from astrology and all that stuff. And then we'll get into
I love the chakra systems. I love the chakra systems. So I want to show them the map. Okay, we got a map for them on the background. I have it on a share screen. So definitely stay tuned. Hit the thumbs up early. We got the audience rolling in. J-Lo, I see you in the chat. What's up? Between Joe and Mike, before we show them a visual, can maybe y'all give me your moon sign, your degree? I'm sure you know your own, right? I'm just taking a wild guess. Can you give me your moon sign, Joe, and then Mike, separate? Can you take it over and give me your moon sign and kind of show us what constellation that's in? And then from there, how does it impact you on Earth? Why do people need to know this? Why is this new revolutionary step? I love when people take their own unique dive and rip open a new space of existence, of knowledge, of intelligence. But can y'all give us an example and get us engaged?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a 16-degree Aries moon, and that actually angles a very specific, like smaller galaxy that passed through in between the Andromeda and Pegasus galaxy called Constellations. My bad. But it angles this this black hole, this specific galaxy that's behind the Andromeda and Pegasus constellation, which is it's called Donatello I, and it's like a dark like spheroidal that's way back in like a kind of like another galaxy and stuff. And basically for me, that sort of applies to like kind of having like black hole abilities in a sense, where I can just get people like really deep involved in like whatever I'm focused on, just because I'm so excited about it, because I passed that through like that like Aries, so I just can get people going on like rabbit holes for no reason. Case in point right here, right now.
1000%. I feel that. I feel that energy within you. That's one of the first things, as I remember when I reached out to Joe. I was like, yo, Joe, I really want you to come to my channel. And the first thing I said is, your passion is contagious. Like, it's like, yeah, like, it just gets me wild up. So, Mike, maybe you can give us yours and we can kind of see like some contrast from the Andromeda to where he's going.
Yeah, so my moon is 916 degrees in Gemini, and then actually
Okay.
becomes the royal fixed star of Aldebaran. So there are royal fixed stars in the sky that represent certain archangels, and Aldebaran is the Archangel Michael star. So it's actually located in the Taurus constellation as the right eye of the bull. That's how we view it. But if you actually look at it from a different perspective, it's actually the solar plexus of the Orion constellation, which is the hunting constellation. So for me, I'm very fixed and also very loyal, and also I have a very narrow focus of what I want, what my mission is, and what I have to do to actually finish what my mission is. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I do want to touch on Joe's kind of black hole abilities. He's a very attractive personality, to say the least. Once you see him, you can't take your eyes off him. So that's a little black hole absorption thing going on right now.
No, he has that. He has that essence. You see him on his Instagram when he does the daily updates, the moon days, the Mars day. So I want to I know a lot of Gemini moons, and I know a lot of Gemini moons on this channel.
Yeah. Oh wait, 1 second. Go
ahead.
Real quick, you put 16-degree Gemini equals fixed star Aldebaran. It's just put 10 degrees.
Yeah, put 10 degrees.
That's where it's
at.
My
bad. 10 degrees. Okay. So now here's what I'm curious about, right? We have a lot of Gemini moons, right? And generally, Gemini is that sign that everybody loves to say is superficial, but you just told me something entirely different where you're actually really stable in some capacity. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing about the Aldebaran is that it's a combination of like Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So this kind of goes really deep into like the whole 12 zodiac signs, the 12 zodiac houses, of how the four, archangels actually birthed those spaces that gave birth to those constellations. So Archangel Michael gave birth to the first house, the second house, and the third house. And from those houses is the constellations Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So even though I do have a Gemini moon, and don't get me wrong, I can be very
chaotic,
that's for sure. But definitely true. But there's also the whole Aries and Taurus aspect of Aldebaran too. So that's where I get like my more fixed natures from, which is the whole Taurus aspect. So yeah, we can go super deep on all the stars and understanding each star's nature and everything. It goes really deep.
No, I just wanted to kind of highlight that point for a moment because I mean, my Venus is in Gemini, right? But it's in the 2nd degree, and I found a lot of that same stability, that Taurian degree of Taurus. The 2nd degree being a degree of Taurus, I found that same stability even within my fluxes. Right. You know what I mean? Like there's this flux, but at the same time, like I just feel grounded, like just super grounded in my relationships. And I found that I really need grounded relationships that can still challenge curiously my intellect without really anybody trying to prove left or right, without really ego battles coming on. Is that look like what is. And I just thought it was like really interesting. I wanted to kind of highlight that because these are the kind of things when you get deeper today into the constellations and all that can be derived from it. I feel like we're going to be able to kind of paint a clearer picture that we can't just pen any single zodiac sign into this one little hole and pretend that that's their energetic signature just because this is what the broad spectrum of that sign might mean. So I just wanted to kind of put some energy on that because I thought it was really cool.
I'm glad you touched on like the 2 degree like Gemini for your Venus, because I think a lot of people don't realize with astrology is that energy is like a wave, right? So when you get to like the early degrees and the late degrees of a sign, there can be some energetic overlap. So for you being early degrees Gemini Venus, you definitely could have some Taurus energy kind of overlapping into that placement.
1000%. You know, I had somebody talk to me about how it works like in consciousness, right? Where it's like think of it as a ladder, where like as those degrees rise up, like you said, you're gonna catch some of the pre-lap prior. But I realized that from 27 degrees of an end of a sign to 2 degrees of the beginning of a sign, this oftentimes represents this ether space, just ether space, where it's like, okay, so 27 from Taurus to that 2 degrees of Gemini, this is like, it adds space itself as one of those 5th elements, where it's like, this is no longer wind, this is no longer earth, it's kind of wind and earth with the space involved. And it's like that in between where things are in transition. So, and like something new being born.
Yeah. I said, I believe they call that the dust signs.
The dust signs?
Yeah.
Or dusk with
dust.
a K.
No,
okay.
with a T.
Yeah.
Oh, with a T, dust. Tell me more. I never heard that. Tell me more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just basically like doing your esoteric alchemy based off of the cusps. Like you just put 2 and 2 together, and it's just kind of like a natural progression of like, oh, wind, earth, dusty. So you're just like,
Yeah.
I need some type of covering to like. It's just like they're throwing too much sauce at me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
I can totally hear it. I can totally hear it. I
yeah,
feel it.
I can only imagine what you'd be doing with that Vita side, where you're just throwing out all these practical reasons for why people should be doing X, Y, Z, and then when they don't meet your standards, you just dip on them and be like, all right, I'll catch you later.
You know what? 1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. And you know, one of the things I realized, so I have an incarnation cross the limitation, and this is actually something that's happening today. That's more in human design, but it's like what you just said is 1,000% true. And what I had to learn through like trial and error and experience is that I have to inform. I do better when I inform people rather than just dipping, rather than just taking my leave and my exit. Inform people of why or what's up, or because I learned that like that learning practice of this practicality is for me to kind of share. Where it's like when I would just dip, life would just keep bringing me back in this vortex, right? It would just keep circling me. It was like, look, I wasn't learning my lesson and I wasn't doing my job to teach people their practical lessons. But when I started informing people, I realized a lot of times it could be 7 months later, it could be 6 years later, people might understand. And they don't even have to come back to me. It's not even a part of the process. It's just like, but if I skip that part, I'm like not doing part of my karmic duty in a sense. And I really had to learn that, because what you just said between the dust between the earth and the air, I realized like, oh shit, like there's a certain practical step that I kept missing. But when I started implementing that, I started realizing that I started attracting relationships more in alignment. 1,000%.
I mean, that really does correlate to your fixed star and your moon sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't quote me on
tell us about mine, because this is to give people perspective on what's possible, and then after that we'll move into your solar charts.
Right. So I'm probably gonna have to look at the name again. I think it's like Algorab or something, but I know it's the knot that combines the 2 fish in the Pisces constellation together.
Yep.
So if you know anything about the 2 fish, this deals about, it's like the story of them 2 being bound in one, the physical world, one, the spirit world. You could do like the yin yang. You could really like slice it a lot of different ways. But for you specifically, I think it's especially what you told me about like your life and all that stuff. It's like you have to bind like, you know, swimming through life and doing what you want to do in the physical, as well as swimming through life and doing what you do in the metaphysical, and kind of like binding the 2 together to where it's like, okay, this is cool. This is spiritual theory. This is what we got going on, making X, Y, Z happen. But at the same time, check it out. I have a body. I have some hard life that I'm not hard life, but hard light I'm incarnating in. So if I don't want to make this a hard life necessarily, I have to blend the 2 and basically show people how to ride the wave in both aspects. So if you want to learn about business, you want to learn about, you know, being financially free and living where you want to do, and sort of like potentially living that like best existence, where going where you're treated best, and living that like nomad capitalist existence where you can like split your life between 3 different places, X, Y, Z, have like a nice tax strategy or whatever the hell, talk to you. Or if you want to do that too, and then have a good spiritual existence where you can actually manifest these flows esoterically as well as physically, talk to you. I've broken down both sides, and this is the bounding thing, aka life, that knots them together. Because when we are spirits in a physical body occupying the 3rd dimensional space, we're basically gods of the physical realm. We have that 3rd perspective where we get to be receivers for the realm of thought and feeling, and actually integrate that into our life. So yeah, I mean, that's the basic rundown. Let me know if that resonates or
No, 1,000%. So I have a 28-degree Aries moon, for anyone that was curious about the moon that ties to the explanation he said. It is Arisha, like you said, and is that knot. And 1,000%, you are right on point. I mean, it's like I've seen that through my life over and over and over. And I've seen in my life, especially in the beginning of my entrepreneurial stages, where I was like just in my mind, just in thought, like just in this manifest, but I wasn't grounding anything. And so I realized it. I used to literally tell myself like, man, do I have like holes in my pockets? It'd be like something would come and then it would just fall through. It would just like fall through thin air. And I'm like, what the hell? And then it would come and it would fall through. And I started realizing I was only implementing one side of that fish, right? Yeah. Like literally I was only manifesting and I wasn't working to keep it. Like that was the part. Like I wasn't creating systems to maintain it on Earth in this 3D. So 1,000% what he just said. So for starters, check the chat. I dropped Solar Systems and their link. if you're looking to kind of learn more about your moon, just on the early notice, and obviously we're going to make this later as we start to kind of hit a close up, and maybe even one more time in the middle. But if you want to start knowing at a soul level yourself, based off this moon sign and the reflections and the constellation you might sit in, what he just said about my moon, 1000% correct. And it's like, look, I didn't really understand that through without having experiences. So when he kind of just explained it to me one day, I was like, oh shit, like this makes total sense. And you see what he said about his black hole element. You got Mike over here, what he said about his element between having a Gemini moon, but still feeling some sense of grounding. So if you're looking for it, check the link. It's in the description, and you're going to see Solar Systems. What's up, Vanessa? How you doing? So where do y'all two want to take this discussion next? What do you feel like people will benefit most? Because you're the experts in this space. This is not my modality. This is not my expertise. So where do the people need to go? Would you like me to pull up the map now?
No, we have an in-between stage where we need to talk about like how your soul oscillates when it's like talking about incarnating, because that sort of ties the whole esotericism together when we're dealing with why and like what the whole point of like knowing your specific moon degree is. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And before you get to that, Vanessa's asking a question. Can she go to your website and figure this out?
No, we don't have all that information yet because we're still working on extracting that out from the spirit world.
Okay. So this would be something where she'd have to find you one-on-one.
Yeah, she would have to contact us directly, where she can either talk to us on Instagram at Solar Systems, on TikTok. She can email us directly at readings@solarsystems.org. But right now we don't have that functionality on the site yet.
Readings@solarsystems.org.
Yep.
That's your email?
Yeah, that's our email.
Okay, cool. So take us to that in-between space, and I'll add that into the description because I didn't have that prior.
All right, sounds good. So when we're dealing with this in-between space, we have to understand dimensions, how that works, and where your spirit could have possibly been vibrating in a past life, right? So when we're understanding the moon sign, it doesn't necessarily mean that, say, Pernell over here came directly from that mid-Pisces space, although it could in a past life. What it means more often than not is that you decided to extract your mentality from that specific wave in the stars. Because when we're looking at the actual space in the sky, like I was talking about in the beginning, the difference between like Vedic, sidereal, and Western astrology is that's like, look at that space as an ocean, right? And the individual star is a wave, aka an event that creates a specific influence. That's why it has that energy, right? So you could look at it like when you're actually creating stars and all that stuff, that is sort of like this energy of an undertow where it doesn't really come out to the surface yet. And then when the star basically explodes and puts out that energy, that's the actual wave when you begin to see it. So what that energy does is it creates a specific, unique piece, which is what creates all of that individual energy of the degrees. So, for example, if someone, for you specifically, when you picked Alrisha as that star, that was the path you decided to walk. So when you're looking at that, that's what you kind of lead into in terms of your mentality that you decided created in your soul intention, because that's the vibration that you wrote in on when you were creating this wave and decided to incarnate here. Like, you can sort of look at it as a totality of kind of like your life path number combined with your mentality. Like, this is what you're meant to do. This is the mental space that you're occupying in. This is the wave that you wrote in on upon incarnation. And this is why you're doing X, Y, Z. Because usually like 60% of the time when we do our readings, that's where someone came from in their past life. But more often than not, it's what they wanted to incarnate in terms of their mentality. And that may have just been the highway that they took to get on Earth. And because to show what you want to do on Earth, you basically have to ride that vibe upon incarnation. So with that being the case, that's kind of the how and why that we sort of do these moon signs and really broadcast out into the 88 constellations. Because, it's like what we talked about in the beginning. When people can have like the same exact chart, when we have twins, for example, they may not have the same exact moon sign or the same moon degree. So they don't have the same mindset when they're talking about dealing with all of these energies that they incarnated with.
I've always was intrigued by twins, and what their charts look like. What do you say, Mike?
I'm actually a twin. So
tell us a story.
So a lot of the times twins can be like the same spirit that have like two different bodies, which is a lot of the times why they're very similar. However, I actually kind of did a meditation where I looked at my twin and I like incarnating onto Earth. And so we're kind of unique where we're two separate spirits that kind of like collided all the way down to Earth, which is why like we don't exactly have the same mentalities, or we're not exactly the same person. We have two totally different personalities, even though our birth chart is relatively the same. So yeah, it can be very interesting.
Now that is interesting, and even back to what Joe was saying about how this reflection is star exploding, and you coming into incarnation, and a lot of times relate to your life path number. And I thought it was interesting because I'm a life path 11, and this is so when you spoke about the two fish and the connection, these two pillars are the ones, right? It's like it's literally like this heaven and hell aspect, right? It's like as above, so below, as within, so without. It's like things they always are these extremes on the left and the right, and they do find a way when I figured it out, because in the beginning it was much more traumatic. But like when I eventually figured out how to handle these two extremes of like being all the way up here and God knows where, space and beyond, and then all the way down in hell, and then I kind of like had to figure out how to do this, and that's when things started to manifest and actually stick. You know what I mean? That's when like my imagination can actually make it here on Earth. But I just thought it was interesting what you said, because my life path 11 fits very well with my moon, and that all almost Arisha. I almost said Alderon. You're Alder and Arisha. So okay, cool. So where are we going next with this? My dad. Oh, we got another twin here, by the way.
Oh, dang.
My dad was a twin, and their human design chart was pretty cool. A 6'2" self-projected projector. Oh,
crazy. Interesting.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So another point before we jump into the solar map and all that stuff is I just want to mention that like they don't even have like all like the astrological information on all of the stars that we're doing. So it's like when we're like figuring out the degrees and like looking it up and making all this stuff, sometimes they don't have any information, which is like where like Mike over here really comes in, because it's like, like our jokingly title for like us is like I'm the CEO of the company, but he's the head of esoteric ventures, because he's the one who has to literally like go up, meditate, and actually like go to that star and extract all of the information on that space. Because it's just like, because I can only do so much. Because like I can do the same meditation stuff that he does, but he's just Mr. like, oh, give me a minute, and I'm just like, all right, cool.
So tell me about that, Mike. What astrological placements do you feel within your own chart allows you to hit these levels of meditations where you can just go up and be like, all right, I need to figure out, this constellation, and I need to compare and contrast this with, okay, boom, here you go, Joe. What do you feel is your astrological placements that we might be able to actually resonate with and understand, even intellectually speaking, because it sounds like it's way beyond intelligence. What allows you to kind of go up there and do that?
Yeah, so I will say this, while I'm doing it, nothing makes sense. It feels like I'm making it up, but then you're like, how am I going to make this up? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. So it's a very interesting experience, but I would say that there's probably 3 different placements for me. The first one being my moon and who I am as a spirit. I'm just very in tune with being in the spirit world. But when it comes to my birth chart, it's definitely all about my Mercury in Cancer being in the 12th house. So Mercury in Cancer is like, it's almost kind of fallen, like, because thoughts and feel, like trying to communicate a feeling with a thought is definitely very hard for Mercury. Like, it doesn't make sense. Mercury is all about Gemini. It just wants to talk and do whatever and like be kind of practical and airy. But with Mercury in Cancer, it's just like you got a hard time communicating sometimes. But the big thing is actually my Mercury being placed in my 12th house, because the 12th house is the astrological space of spirituality, the subconscious, the astral realm. So with my Mercury already being there, my mind's already wants to be in that state of subconscious. So it's very easy for me to just kind of lie down, close my eyes, and then kind of just detach and then have my spirit go and download some kind of information. So that's
no, 1,000%. And even Cancer, Cancer itself is one of those symbols that can step into private spaces.
Yeah, they're all spaces.
It's totally attuned with subtle bodies, just even without the 12th house. The 12th house just gives it like magnificent reach, right? Like it's now it's unlimited. The way I look at that when I hear it is like now it's just completely unlimited. And I had made this, I teach astrology and memberships with human design. It's like one of the things I had did with Mercury when we came across like, is Pisces and Sagittarius in this debilitated or exiled state? And I was like, look, like we can't keep seeing things as good and bad. And one of the things I had gave is like, look, it may not operate well in human world, but the simple reality is we're so much more than human. You know what I mean? Like if you try to intellectually break this down between just even Sag and Pisces, I'm considering Pisces as your 12th house in this instance. It's like these symbols, they're seeing what is really there on multiple layers, like not just because I can touch it. You know what I mean? Not just because I could touch my computer, it's here. It's like, yeah, but through this computer, there's magnetic waves, and Pisces and Sag can also see that. So I kind of see that how it can easily link you in these meditations. And 12th house is one of those places of isolation where you do meditate, you do go off into faraway places. So that's really cool. I'm glad you made that connection.
Yeah, I have a whole video on our YouTube channel. It's three steps to downloading information or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, 3 steps to downloading information from the spirit world.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I might check that out. Thank y'all for hitting those thumbs up and those likes button. People are really enjoying y'all right now. Aura was saying she wants to check you. She wants us to come and do again with the episode just on twin charts. I have to go look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
I love it, man. I love it. Every time I meet twins, I'm like, charts. Give me the charts. Because I grew up with some twins as well. I have some cousins that were twins. Okay, cool. So where are we shifting? Where are we shifting the direction here?
We can shift into the solar map now.
All right, cool. I'm gonna pull up this map, and they're gonna show us how the chakras play into everything they're saying and more. All right, boom. We're going over to their website. So you can find us on their website, solarsystems.org. So explain this to me, right? I'm seeing a body. I'm seeing, North Node and Uranus somewhere near this heart. Somewhere I'm seeing 4th house. What's going on here? Like, what are we really looking at?
So we're pretty much looking at what we call the solar map right here. So all the stuff we basically explained was how you as a spirit comes and incarnates here. And then, if they watch you, they obviously know a little bit and a thing or two about the actual, the natal chart and all that stuff. But we basically developed a way to extract the natal chart out into the vessel that we currently occupy in, because, we may be like having light bodies and walking around as like light orbs, but that's not what we're seeing. So we got to break down the chakras as the way, as a reflection of the solar system that we incarnated in. Because as a spirit and occupying this 3rd dimensional perspective, we're not smart enough to create our own vessel, to create our own experience, to truly create like a river flow of like what other beings live off of and all that stuff. So we need to reflect the solar system that we incarnated in, which is why we call our company Solar Systems. Help you understand the system that your soul goes into. If you're wondering about the system that your soul goes into, you're looking at it. It's right there. So basically what this is we extracted the house systems into your actual chakra bodies based off certain points. And once I'm done explaining this and you really want to feel it for yourself, I have a guided meditation on my YouTube channel that basically, our YouTube channel, that explains how you can feel this. And we bring you up and down through your own personal solar system so you can truly feel this experience, as well as potentially see if there's any messages for you. So how the solar map works is it basically follows the ascendant pattern, right? So when everybody has the 12 basic, I guess what would you call them, like structures or like systems that encapsulate their chakra systems? Yeah, like the same structure of their chakra systems, but where people sort of get stronger in a sense is based off the signs and the planets that occupy them, as well as obviously the natural aspects of how they occupy them. So why this is cool is because having the physical solar map like in your hand is the best tool that I've ever seen, which is why I created it, in terms of being able to like hold your chakra systems, hold your alignments in your hand, and basically look at it every day, because it will lead you into every natural, like practical step of astrology. It'll be like, oh, I have this means this. Okay, cool. That means I have this and this in this chakra. And then you understand the basic influence of it. Now, the next step is like, oh, this is actually a part of my body. I can see it. Okay. How does this apply to medical astrology? Okay.
Right.
And then it expands out even more into the next step of, oh, really? This is how this, and this is aligning me? Okay, if this is the Capricorn, or for me, this is the Pisces Aries space right here, what planets are actually in Pisces and Aries right now? How can I look at this? What does this influence mean for me? How does it affect me physically, energetically, emotionally, spiritually? And it really just like we're still discovering new aspects of how to like use the solar map, which is why, I really got to get on the content for how to use the solar map, but it's coming out next week. But yeah, it literally just goes endlessly, like whatever possible.
So let's try to use some examples, and then I'll pull that screen back up.
Sure.
I always like to see like personal examples, because then we can I feel like people can relate it, right?
Yeah.
When we're learning something new. So you would go off your rising sign? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, you go off your ascendant.
Okay, so what's your ascendant?
Scorpio.
Okay, so if you go Scorpio, I'm a Scorpio rising as well, and we look back at this map, what do we then need to what happens next?
So if you're a Scorpio, it really depends on what you want to do. So if you're a Scorpio ascendant, you would basically break down and just follow the natural like progression of signs, basically based off your own personal alignments. Obviously,
Okay, sure.
Obviously, it depends.
Okay, so that makes sense, right? So if I break it for them, y'all see, or at least on this chart, y'all see Capricorn right here that I'm circling, and then it goes Aquarius, right? And then, okay, what happened here? We skip to Pisces, or
It's just the system, how like charts based, how the houses just expand and contract based off degrees.
it makes sense, and it's still going in some sort of order. This kind of looks a lot like Placidus in a way where you can have dual signs in certain houses.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm a Cap rising, for example, if I use this exact chart, right? Right now, there's no Capricorn in the sky. So let's say we have Aries in the sky, right? We have Venus, I know there, Jupiter's there right now, Chiron's there. So right now, for this Capricorn rising, would that say something like this third house is active?
Yeah, so it would basically. So I mean, I would say, there's well, we got an alignment like that, so there's a lot of directions you can go with that.
Yeah.
So these people are having very abundant speech, whether that's for better or for worse. Obviously, there's Chiron in there, so they're probably having an abundance of realizations about their relationships and potential mistakes they may have made in the past, depending on where they're at. So basically, this probably means they are either gossiping very loudly, they are basically potentially, for lack of a better term, shit posting on their ex or verbally gossiping about that, and or they are having a lot of realizations about their, relationship mistakes in the past, and now they're trying to go back and chase their ex and be like, I realized this, this, and this, and I didn't understand that. Can we be back? And they're like, that happened 2 years ago. Why are you talking to me? So it's just like, things like that.
Oh my God. So, okay, wait a minute. So I know some Cap risings.
Yeah. So the
All right.
So you just became aware of a whole bunch of stuff right now.
Oh snap! This is real, y'all. Y'all gotta pay attention because what he's saying, I'm telling you, I know some Cap risings, and I'm on a live right now, so I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone, okay? But what I can say for the moment is, considering that Aries is in the third, when we have those Aries in the sky, I can clearly see and I know a couple Cap risings, in the relationships they had and how they realized that their voice was just almost overpowering to an intimidating standpoint where like almost like their voice makes them even, appear more ruthless than what they are internally, at a whole different level. They're like, a lot softer inside, but the way they're projecting their voice with so much power, it's kind of putting others in this place of submission where they win. And we know Aries, if we know Aries, right? Aries wins. Aries likes to win. Aries does not like to lose. So, if you have Chiron there, he's an Aries as well?
No. He just knows I have my Aries moon in my 5th house conjunct Jupiter. Yeah.
So you're all in this season right now.
There's no losing.
No, it's not.
There's no losing. I fully get it. And so this, I know. I mean, I got a triple. I'm a triple Aries stellium. Like this is super clear. And my life didn't really start working with me, if I'm saying with me, until I stopped caring about winning. Like literally, like I went through a phase, even through things like basketball, even playing basketball, where I was like, look, I'm not gonna choose to win at all costs. This is the best example I can give. Where it used to be at this point where, like, if we were losing, I'd be like, ball. And I would take the ball by myself, Aries, and just go to the rack. I'm just going to score. But the problem was, in that moment, in those time frames, all my other teammates, right? Now I'm like, I don't have teammates. I'm like, look, the teammates are fucking up. I'm going to the rack. I'm scoring. I'm yelling. I'm bumping other people. And it became to the point where we're no longer having fun. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, great. You got the win, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. It's like, was it worth the win? That's so when I think of Aries, was it worth the win? That's where it kind of comes down to. It's like, great, you won. Same with Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio has that Mars energy as well. So it comes down to them, but Scorpio's a little bit more discreet about it in their own ways, right? You don't even realize that they're so driven to win. It's like Aries is more obvious, and it's like, look, we want to win. We don't like losing. So no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying Scorpio would be skewed, but I have another example actually about Leo ascendant. So we want to flip the script and give people.
Okay.
But no, finish what you were gonna say.
No, essentially, that's it. Like for the most part, it was just me kind of like taking a look at how I've seen in relationships, because you spoke about Cap risings, for example, and this solar map that we just showed, how Aries is in the third house with their voice, and I'm realizing people were starting to realize their communication is almost not. I didn't look at the rest of the map. It might make me connect some other pieces, but they start realizing how like their voice and what they're saying and how they're saying it, keyword how, is not necessarily matching what they're truly feeling deeper on the inside, right? Because that seventh house would have been more like Cancer, I'm guessing, if it's a Cap rising. And it's like Cancer in relationship is much more sensitive, right? Like it's not really trying to be aggressive. It is aggressive by all means. It's a cardinal energy, but it's not trying to be aggressive like an Aries. You know what I mean? That's a very big, different type of aggression. It's a little bit softer. It's gentle. It likes to be sensitive, and it's like, but it's like it can hide its sensitivities through that loud Aryan voice, through that powering, domineering voice that it could have.
Most definitely. Well, I mean, what sort of like popped into my head when you were talking about that is like, obviously depending on
I never mess with fixed stars, but maybe I'll study up on it someday. I know David was actually looking to do a live with us soon, so we'll see what happens with that. But go ahead. What were you saying, my guy?
Yeah, so what I noticed with like sort of Capricorn ascendants is like, depending on the degree, they might have Pisces in their third house and also having like Aries on their heart, right? So when it comes with like their intentions and what they want to do, they want to make sure that that point gets across. But see, having like Pisces in that chart, they have that natural like verbal empathy in a way, so they know so they can like sort of combine that like fire and water element and really create that steam energy. So they know exactly what you feel about it. They know exactly how you feel about it, and they know which emotional wave to ride to basically have that point come across to you and make you feel it, right? But then once they notice something that they feel, they can really turn that heat up and start steaming it. And you'll just be like, why am I feeling like I'm boiling in this conversation right now?
Yeah. Because there's that part of it. You said Leo at the last part?
No. I was just talking about the third house for Capricorn ascendants, because I noticed that because it's not always Aries in there.
Yeah.
Okay. No. I get you. I thought for some reason you had said Leo somewhere, and I was like,
oh no. We did say that. That's just another example that I'm going to like flip the script and basically show people the opposition of the actual.
For sure. And that's where my mind had thought, like, because sometimes I realized that's how they hide their insecurities. That's like you, and it's actually, I realized like a consistency between fire signs, Leo, Sag, and Aries. There's this visionary aspect, right? Where it's like they generally live in the present moment. So it's like, let's say present is right here, right? But it's like, we're gonna say presence is here, but it's like as the presence is here, they have this visionary mind that's over here. And it's like all fire signs, they can be their visionary self in the present moment, but there's this gap in between where they're still not that visionary. They're not embodying all of those visionary qualities in the present moment, but they can create this image that they are. And if somebody essentially wants to fuck with them, there's this space in the middle where when they poke at those middle in between spaces, I found that fire signs can get really insecure. And I'm saying this as a fire sign myself, can get insecure, and through that grow larger. But the growing larger, the growing bigger is actually a masking of, it's like the little dog who barks at the big dogs out of like Napoleon syndrome. You feel me? Yeah. It's like, look, it knows it's small in the moment, but it knows that it has big ambitions, big aspirations, big dreams. But it's like, it has that middle space to fill in. You know what I mean? So its insecurities can just be masked through just roaring.
That's you know the brightest star in the sky?
I naturally feel like the sun, but maybe that's not right.
I mean, okay,
outside of the sun.
Outside at night, the brightest star at night.
Okay, no.
We just mentioned it. It's Sirius. So it's.
Oh my God, I was gonna say Sirius, but I thought of it as another sun, so I was like, I didn't. Is Sirius another sun?
I mean,
in their world,
technically, all stars are suns. We just call it the sun is a star. We just call it the sun.
Okay, because Sirius was my first thought before I was going to say sun, primarily because at least at one point I came across this information where Sirius is like larger than our sun, I believe, and it actually has like a portal to charge our sun, and it's like our sun is actually like somehow energized through even the Sirius star itself. But again, I'm not an expert in this, so tell me.
Oh, so it takes a little bit of a different perspective than that.
Yeah.
So personally, based off like some of my starseed incarnations, like I don't have the best energy with Sirius because we got gripes over past wars and whatnot. But basically, Sirius is the throat of the dog in the Canis Major constellation. So I basically had this video sort of like talking shit on Sirius because of all the people that like follow the Lion's Gate, because everybody's like, oh, the Lion's Gate on August 8th, right?
Yeah.
And then being that this is, you know, like calculating the stars and their moon signs is what I do. I'm just like, oh, okay, is that really true? And it's not true at all. The sun does not conjunct Sirius on August 8th at all. And it really actually conjuncts it actually conjuncts the sun on July 7th or July 8th, around that time. And then to put it on top of that, like, you know, Syrian starseeds always want to be the loudest ones talking about spirituality and all that stuff. The reason for that is they are in the throat of the dog in the Canis Major constellation. And the reason why I always bring that point up is because yeah, I know signs aren't constellations. We bring that up in the beginning. But whatchamacallit, we basically said, who likes to hear dogs bark in any realm of reality? That was my whole point on Sirius. Like, just stop being so loud. Stop trying to be so right. Why are you trying to make yourself so bright to begin with? You want everybody to see you for what? You're still the throat of the dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, 1000%. You know, I've started realizing last year specifically, and there was this misalignment with that Lionsgate energy, and it was like something, and I couldn't prove it. I had nothing tangible, but I was like, something about this feels like a placebo effect.
Yep. Well, there you go. Now you know.
You know what I mean? It was almost like, well, because if you get a collectively, 4 million people talking about it, now, that within itself gives it energy because 4 million people are aligning with there's an extra power. So is there anything happening on a Lionsgate? Is there any type of true reality within this whole Lionsgate energy? Like, is there anything, or is it a complete bust?
How you want to handle this there, buddy?
I mean, once you break down what they say the Lionsgate is, and you realize that it has nothing to do with Sirius at all, then what exactly, there's nothing really going on there. It is kind of just, everybody kind of just picked a date and a star and then said, oh, this goes together. So I wouldn't really say that the Lionsgate is anything to be concerned about. I'd be more concerned about when the sun conjuncts the royal fixed stars. That's what I'd be more concerned about.
Yeah, because that's
what's the royal fixed star?
So the royal fixed stars are what they call the archangel stars. So they represent Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, and Michael. And at the time when they first were, looking at the stars and everything, they actually marked the solstices. So they marked the equinoxes, so the start of spring, summer, fall, and winter. So not only do they kind of astrologically control like the seasons. So if you ever notice how like it could be like April or May and still kind of the weather still gets kind of wonky, that's because astrologically spring hasn't even happened yet because all the stuff is shifting. So I would pay attention to that. And then the other thing is that the archangels kind of rotate the zodiac wheel. So you know how we're in the age of Aquarius or the age of Pisces? Those are the beings that actually rotate the wheel and push us into a new astrological age.
And that's because one star moves, all the fixed stars move 1 degree every 72 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, it's like when our universe, or our little ecliptic started, Aldebaran was in 0 degrees of Aries on the cusp of Pisces and Aries, and they slowly shifted over time. Same with all of them.
I love this. This is delicious. This entire conversation is delicious. We see here it is. I see Nevid and Morningstar kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, what we started out with, and then speaking of Ptolemy, he's the one actually bringing down the information of the stars since Ptolemy was actually working on it.
Yeah, so if you go online and you actually try to find information about the fixed stars, only certain fixed stars have information on them, and then also a lot of it isn't really complete. So what I do is I go meditate, figure out the natures of each star, what the star actually influences, and then I bring it back down here. So eventually in the future, we'll have a whole database about all the 88 constellations and fixed stars, but that's a lot of work. So we ain't done yet.
Yeah, like he did all the stars.
Sure.
Yeah. We have a whole playlist on that. We're working on Draco right now. And then eventually, based off popular demand, we'll start getting to them at some point.
For sure. Do you do on your meditations? Do you do meditations with people? Is that a service you offer to do meditations with people to figure out their stars and kind of go up into Cancer 12th house galaxies and bring down?
Not like with people, like on a Zoom or anything, but
Hey. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. Morning Star. Hey. Um, I was cool with y'all having an intellectual debate, but there's no reason for name calling. I don't care who you are. You'll get blocked. No more name calling. That's it. There's no reason to call this person an idiot. We're all learning something. So I just want to keep that official. Y'all could. I love an intellectual debate, but once we start getting, I got to keep it clean. That's 1,000% keeping it clean. All right. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
That's all good. So I don't necessarily do meditations like over Zoom or anything. What we do is get your birth chart information, your birth time, birthplace, and everything. And then I take that, knowing who you are, knowing where you were born, and then I go and meditate and I figure out what star is it, what degree, what the influences are, and things of that nature.
Yeah,
for sure.
Do you remember that video that I sent you in about like the fixed stars and all that stuff?
Yep.
That video is like a part of the actual reading that we put, because we're trying to like break it off like from like the actual like text-based stuff and like trying to apply videos like here, this is your star, this is what it does. So it's like you got all forms of information hitting you.
For sure. Okay, cool. So did you want me to bring the solar mat back up, or is there a different direction you want to take?
You can bring it back up. We're just kind of bouncing around between all aspects because it's a very intricate.
I mean, it's intricate. It's large, right? It's like I've always been fascinated. I'm like, man, there's so much stuff up there. Like, like Jesus Christ. All right, cool. So I wonder, is it okay? So what else do we have currently in the sky? Pisces, no?
Yeah, Pisces.
Yeah, Pisces. I mean, we got that 4-planet stellium in Pisces going on right now.
I know. So what solar map? Is there a solar map we can look at that'll show what might be happening in Pisces related, or?
So basically, this right now, technically for this person's chart, like if you reload it, it might pop up and move to Pisces. But like all these planets that say like it's in Aquarius right now, it's just in that person's house that's listed in Aquarius. So yes, you see they're all in Pisces right now because we shifted during the astrological time period. So right now, if someone was born right now at this specific instance, this would be what their chakra systems look like right here, right now. This is a feature on our website. So we're going to come out with Solar Map Synastry, where you can get like a little subscription and basically see not only where your planets are in your solar map, but also where the planets are in like externally aligning with your solar map. Then we'll have an app at some point. We're working on it. But basically, this right here, having Pisces in the second house, shows that this person is having either they're learning in abundance about themselves in terms of spirituality, or they are really, really diving deep into what their values are. And they're just feeling a huge wave of vibes that are being like, okay, are your morals, are you okay with your morals? Is this what you want to do with that? Because, we have the sun, Jupiter, Neptune, Chiron, and soon to be Saturn, right?
Tomorrow,
yeah. As of tomorrow. So right now, these people are, they're shining their light, they're shining their focus on what they value in terms of spiritual expansion, spiritual growth, the dream world, their illusions, and if they've made any mistakes, because they're probably like diving into this reason because something feels slightly wrong, like they may have messed something up. And how this and if it is going that negative route, it can sort of lead to a lot of frustration, a lot of headaches. And then, obviously you'd have to do this for like years or really put a lot of energy into it. But it could also lead into like brain clots, like murky vision, like you're starting to need glasses. Like it depends how deep and energetically you go for it to manifest physically. So but on the positive side, it can lead to a lot of like awakening periods, a lot of like first eye situations, a lot of growth internally. But it really depends on which vibration you're taking with it. But it can really go a lot of different ways. You got any ideas? I think I touched on.
I mean, the only other thing too is that if you had Pisces in the second house with all the especially with the Sun and Neptune in Pisces right now, you could be having very crazy dreams or meditation right now because Pisces kind of deals with all that stuff. So if you're like, I don't really dream, but right now things are getting crazy, that's why.
Yeah, because you gotta remember, it's like I said in the chart, it's your first eye chakra, not your third eye, your first eye. You developed that eye first before you even came into existence. So don't call it your third eye, because that means you're basically saying subconsciously that, oh, I was born from the third dimension. No, you weren't. You're an infinite spiritual being having this finite experience, and we're just showing you how to calculate, your potential life path, where you may have came from, the star you extracted your mentality from, etc.
Okay, so I won't even lie. I've never. Is there a second eye? I've never heard of it. This is my first time hearing about a first eye from a third eye.
Well, you know how
your second and third eyes here. You can pick which one you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people call it the third eye chakra, but we call it the first eye because your spirit came first. So this is
what I love. No, I love it. I love the entire direction y'all taking.
Yeah, it's a
just
different
branding the whole thing
on something that's already existed. It's just a different perspective.
But this is what I think is necessary.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. Like I really do. It's like, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the channel, because it's like, look, this is something fresh, this is something new, right? It's like I wanted to bring you on as the people who know something, because you're pioneering, a space unique to you, individual to you. Like you said, you have to literally meditate and bring the information back to Joe, and Joe has to be able to communicate that in his black hole fashion, right? Yeah. If y'all listen to the earlier conversation, where it's like, when you go see these stars, the information is not really there. It's not complete, if you will, right? And so it's like you're in the process of completing it and bringing something formless into form, which does take time. So congratulations, man. I really love what y'all doing.
Thanks.
Here, I wrote this down a couple of years ago when I was first discovering this shit, but I have a chart that basically shows you all the houses and what constellations occupy it based off their symbol. Oh, here we go. I gotta get this book rebound. So it's here, look, this is the basic, what planets are natural in certain houses and stuff like that.
Hold on, let me put you on I'm gonna put you on a solo view, get it a little bigger.
Yeah, so these are
okay,
all
cool, we got you.
And their preferences on those houses. And then as you can see, up in the the corners over here, this is the fixed stars that occupy the royal fixed stars that occupy that space. So if you remember this guy over here, this is the symbol for that star, Aldebaran. This is Michael's constellation. Not his constellation, his star. And then so on and so forth. And then when we shift over here, we have all the same fixed stars, and then all the constellational symbols that actually occupy that space. So for instance, in this first house over here, we have Andromeda, Cetus, Cepheus, Pegasus over here. And then we also have the actual Pisces constellation in the first house space, as well as the river Eridanus. And now some of these constellations do occupy all of these spaces, but these are their symbols, what they look like, and what houses they sort of occupy.
Well, make that a graphic and release it at some point.
Yeah. Oh, the Etsy store thing I was talking about earlier. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much, that's basically the gist on that. So, not everything, but that's the gist on how it looks like when you're talking about occupying that space and what it looks like. So yeah, we really have to make it fun.
We got a lot to do.
Yeah, but because people don't realize it's once they get into this fixed star space, it's there's I'd say 30-40% of the actual fixed stars have information on them.
Yeah, and then also you have to question how did they get that information, and is it accurate?
Yeah,
because a lot of times when I'm reading something, I'm like, nah.
Mike, do you know your human design chart out of curiosity?
So I actually had my human design chart done a couple of years ago. However, it's been a long time since I've revisited it. I think it was a 3-5. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Cool. I know J-Lo in here. I think she's a 3-5 as well. I was asking because in the Ajna and the crown, there's a Virgo, Capricorn, and Pisces gate. And the three of these up at the top, I believe it's in the crown chakra for them, they often just have a knowing, but there's no logical reasoning.
Yeah, all the time.
The more they try to explain what they know and why they know it, the more confusing it gets. It's just they'll just get lost.
I feel that.
Yeah, I was curious because when you were speaking, I don't have the Pisces in the, what is it called? I don't have the Pisces in the Virgo, but I have the Capricorn one. It sits right in the middle, gate 61. And when I discovered that, it made a fuck ton of sense. It kind of goes back to what Joe said earlier, where kind of connecting spirit to earth in a sense, where until Taurus comes around, Taurus seasons, I'll have this knowing from Capricorn energy, but until I get Taurus, I can't really bring it to Earth. I can't. In a sense, it'll just make sense to me, but if I try to explain it, it'll just be so far fetched, and it just takes time. Like it's like Capricorn element, right? It's like time. It just takes time for me to be able to actually like throat chakra communicate it to people in a way where like the collective back to Capricorn can understand. And I was just kind of curious because if you knew those gates for yourself and you kind of look back at them, I feel like you'll be able to even rationally bring back the irrational in a way. I feel like you'll be able to kind of do this seesaw thing.
I'll have to look into my chart more. But I'm actually glad you mentioned that, like bringing it down, because when I'm done meditating, like it takes me a few moments to like actually process the thoughts and what just happened. Because like I'll be meditating and everything will start making sense and I'll just be like getting information or whatever. And then I'll like get out of it. And I'm like, what just happened? Like I have to go back and process everything and like kind of reorganize everything.
No, I get it. I'm a lot of the same way. Like you spoke dreams and like dreams happening. I'm the same way. Like honestly, they're so wild. I mean, like I'm not one of the people that don't dream. If anything, I dream too much, like to an annoying extent. I'm like, I can't. It takes me too much. It's like a full-time job. Like I have to journal. I have to journal. And then it's like, yo, I can't even, like this morning was one of them. Like, yo, I don't have the energy or the time to do this journal. Like I knew it would have benefited me. And then even when I journal it, it's like, I have to go back and look at that. Sometimes I have to see stuff 3 months later. And I'm like, oh, but it's like, man. So I'm curious. What do we got going on here in the chat? I'm a 1-3, but in Sidereal, I'm a 5-2. Super dope. Okay, cool. So if you were to, as the people working in the 88 constellation, working with the fixed stars, what do you feel like humanity is missing the most, and how can we benefit? Where, like, all right, this is a very broad.
I already got an answer.
I have an answer too.
I already got an answer.
Thank you. So like I want to try to make it practical for people so they can take something tangible home and start doing their research, reach out to you with the proper questions rather than blank, so lead us there.
So I would say when you said, what is humanity missing? The first thing that popped in my head is for me, you can talk about that too. But for me, the first thing that popped into my head was humanity is missing their connection to themselves. And that's kind of what we're bringing down here.
1000%. And so them figuring out their fixed stars from their moon sign, you believe this will start to connect them?
Well, yeah, because once you understand, so the moon is kind of like your mentality, your emotional state. And kind of once you understand your own mentality, everything else kind of falls into place. It can really help with figuring out if you were where your mentality came from, what location in the sky you came from, if you have past lives maybe, as well as also helping you kind of understand, one, your mission for being on Earth, and two, also how to direct that mission.
It literally shows you the vibe you rode into your moon when you decided to incarnate on Earth.
Yeah.
That's everything. That's the whole reason you came down here, the whole emotional wave you came down here, the whole mentality you decided to create for yourself when you came down here. So as long as you know that, and you can find, well, I should probably be pointing in the moon. As long as you know that, and you can vibe with that, you can literally just like, it's like knowing your life path number, what you should do, how you should do it, and how you already just are in one thing.
1000%. How about this question down here with J-Lo? What would they call the degree of the star, the pure essence of that star?
So having a direct conjunction, so knowing where that star is, if you have an astrological alignment that directly conjuncts that degree, that would be the pure essence of that star. However, I don't know if you guys were here from the beginning when I said that energy, it travels in waves, so there is kind of overlap. So depending on what star it is, like if you're within a certain amount of that degree, you can still have that energy carry to you. But having a direct conjunction is the pure essence of that star.
Yeah, each star has their own individual orb. And then sometimes there's binary stars and like sextuplet stars. So then that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like calling the degree and the pure essence, I will say if you do try to find it online, you do have to do a lot of like latitude calculations as well as like doing the math on like, because like if you find it online, like they're all like usually based off the year 2000 or 1900. So if they move 1 degree every 72 year for every year, you have to like add or subtract 0.838 like of a degree, and it's a whole thing, which is why we do that for you.
now.
Right. No, that's good to know. That's good to know. You know,
Yeah.
as soon as you told me about this, like I could tell you off the rip, like I started digging in. And
Yeah.
it's kind of just like you said, though. It's like there's not much. When I looked at Aurisha, there's not much. I mean, it's almost like the amount of information that was there on the internet was almost so bland that I kind of feel a lot the same like you. It's like me just closing my eyes and imagining what this means made more sense.
Yeah.
It's like it gave me some background information that kind of got me started in a way. But it's like you said, there was, at least from what I could find, all the different sources on this star, it said the same thing. Constellation of Pisces, you're at the foot of this thing, and you know it's connecting, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like-
The other thing too is that they're probably just looking at it from a physical perspective, like, oh, it's here and that's it. They don't dive into it.
And like
Exactly.
they were saying in the chat, like all the information that is on it came from back when like Ptolemy was like working on it. And then like back in those days in the world, like everybody was negative and murderous, and like all the star readings are like murderous and like weird like that. He was on the Mediterranean somehow. That's all I know.
It was Greek or Egyptian. I don't remember. One of the two. I'm pretty sure it was Greek.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, though. Just to think about what was the collective consciousness at the time of Ptolemy, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, collectively, like war. You know, times are very, very different. Like we don't have as many resources. They didn't even have Google, right? Like Google changed everything in its own capacity, right? So you know, the one that I found I resonated personally with the most is taking your time to go meditate, visit these places.
Yeah, you gotta go yourself. Walk down your DNA.
You gotta go yourself, man.
It's gonna jump sometimes.
I felt that 1,000% because it's like when I looked at it like that, even if I take just what you told me about Arisha and the connection to Knot and Pisces, there's this question I used to ask myself all the time for the longest time, and it was like, okay, my Sun and my Mercury are both in Aries, but they're at 24 degrees. So, you know, and I told you before, like I use degree point theory. I use the degrees 1,000% in all of my personal interpretations. So I'm like, what does it mean to have the first zodiac sign and in the last degree, right? Not even 12, but 24. Not 12 degrees, but 24. And at least the way I understand it, like I said, it increases in consciousness. So I'm like, what does this mean? And the only thing I used to come back to was I'm the beginning of the end and the end of the beginning. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But what does that mean? So, you know, so when you told me about the Arisha, that thought kind of came back, and it brought me a lot more clarity, like of what even that meant. But again, I've never saw that on the internet. And so what they were saying, and I want to always try to promote to everybody else listening as well, is like, do take the time to just respect your own spirit, you know, respect your own soul knowing, your soul level knowing, and be willing to not be able to find a logical response to what you know you feel deep in your heart that is just true. For anybody listening, like respect that, because that is going to always be any amount of research that any of us can do. Research can kind of help clarify certain points, but then take the time to reflect on those points that you learned intellectually and just start to feel into the process. And I promise things will make so much more sense, even if they don't to other people outside of you.
Yeah, and then another point on that, which kind of sort of ties into the just like the spiritual perspective of all the signs. You have to remember, in the spirit world, Aries is the last step, which essentially means having the pure ability to create is the last. That's like the last step in the spirit world, right? Because like in our world, Pisces is the last step because it wants to bring us back to the spirit world, aka our true space, right? Because everybody's going on that infinite, just like up, down, up, down, up, down, because it's like when you're a universe and you just are all experience in that space. Sorry. You literally like all you yearn for is to have like that finite experience, aka Earth. And then when you're on Earth, you just yearn for that finite, infinite spiritual experience, and you're always chasing that, right? So understanding like the whole as above, so below, and all the actual understandings of the spiritual perspective of each of these signs, it can bring you together, right? Because why does Aries have all that confidence, all that direction, all that just pure growth, and then it gets bored and wants to do something else? Because it's used to that spiritual experience of just creating. It already has the vision. It already has the mind. It already has the emotional vibration of why it wants to do that, right? And then same thing for Pisces, right? It gives you all that comfort, all that spiritual flow, because literally all you have to do when you're in that Pisces level of the spirit is to go with the flow, feel what experiences it. Then you take the next step of Aquarius. Okay, Now that I have a flow, let me do the equivalent of being one lesson ahead when I'm teaching piano lessons to someone before me. When you're in Aquarius, right? You're just identifying your associations and picking which flow you want to ride or creating a certain flow. And then after that, when we get to your point about the Capricorn energy of how you had the understanding of it and all that stuff, but you can't exactly explain it yet because it's not here, it's not Taurus. Capricorn is the first step in the spirit world of actually, having an earth plan, right? Capricorn is creating the plan, creating a tangible plan that it doesn't matter how long it's going to get there, but you're going to get there because you made a tangible plan and tangible steps. And then the next cycle of earth, which is Virgo, doing the work, being irritated, coming up with a more efficient means to actually attack that. And then Taurus, at once you have the plan, aka the seed, which is Capricorn. Then you have Virgo, you have the roots, and then you have Taurus, the actual tree of whatever you built that can bear fruits to whatever you want because it's already stable, it already has value, it already is. And you can really go back and forth with like the spiritual understandings of all like the actual signs, because my favorite thing is the link between Capricorn and Gemini. They're both the third house signs. Capricorn is the third house in the spirit world. Gemini is the third house in the physical world, right? So Gemini doesn't have to build and create mentalities. It bounces between all of them. It goes from this mentality, this mentality, this mentality, that mentality, that mentality, this mentality, that mentality, in that speed, at that time frame, and thought all of those thoughts from all the perspectives of those mentalities, right? But Capricorn has to take the actual time to be like, okay, this is here, this is that, this is what I want to attain, this is the best, most efficient mental state I can come up with at this moment in time to get me to the goal that I want to get to, right? So this is why Capricorn and Gemini had that in conjunction, because they're basically coming at the same thing from two different perspectives, which is basically just like the energy of, okay, I want to build this. Okay, I already have this, but I don't have enough stick-to-itiveness because I'm so interested by how the wind's blowing me from X, Y, Z. And I just find that as like a unique perspective that helps people understand the signs, because it really is like, it really sheds you the whole as above, so below perspective on what this energy truly means, how you can attain it, and how you can benefit from it. So when you're really diving into the actual understanding of what is my sign's superpower, that can give you a great understanding and a great just like blowing up of expansion in terms of understanding that sign, which is what I do a lot in my personal sessions when I'm talking to people, because when people are like just getting into astrology, depending on who you're talking to, they need a little bit of wow and a little shock factor. So when you're basically breaking down the big three, the primordial triad, all that stuff, you talk about their sun, moon, and ascendant in their actual house and how they interact with each other and how that sort of builds them as their individual personality as a person. And then you really start breaking it down from the spiritual perspective. Then they go, whoa, that's cool, I have superpowers. And you're like, yeah, you just got to vibrate higher so you know how to. But yeah, that's my little tangent on that.
Yes. I loved it. 1,000%. I mean, I got Capricorn and Gemini riddled in my chart.
Yeah.
Both.
So you understand.
So it's like, yeah. So like to hear you say it, you know what I mean? It was like, I looked at the time. I was like, okay, 1:05, 1 hour and 5 minutes. I'm going to rewind and listen to that later. I was literally, I swear to God, it's like, I'm like, okay, 1 hour and 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to rewind and hear him on this tangent all over again while we're not in real time. Because again, it was just like, it just hit without even me really trying to digest like what you said, just to stay present in the actual conversation. I'm like, he hit it. He hit something. You gave me some revelation today. So full moon in Virgo.
Great.
Yeah, man, we're full moon in Virgo, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely take a moment to see where Virgo's at in your chart today, tomorrow, even the day after, because revelations are coming through for each of us. All right, things are beginning to illuminate, and it is in opposition to a super stellium, like Joe said earlier, to Pisces. So there is a lot of stuff coming from God knows where ever Pisces really stays, and Virgo down here, where things are starting to be able to hit this connection somewhere in the middle where we can make sense of it. I'm loving this.
You're overwhelmed by a spiritual flow and you come up with a new system to create it and you don't know how to articulate it and verbalize it yet. You're working on it.
No, 1,000%. And you two right now being guests right now on my channel, this is everything you just said in your last sentence. This is a part of the wave that I've been looking to align with myself. Where I'm like, look, the simple fact that y'all are literally up in space and beyond, having to meditate to gain information because you can't even find it on research. the way I look at it is y'all pioneering in 2023 in the modern day what the world will eventually learn to systemize in school systems.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's why we call it solar systems, man.
Yeah.
We're literally like, our goal is to have an app on your phone with a 3D model of the solar map, basically, where you can look at like how the solar system looked and what everything was angling at your point in time. You'll be able to like click on, oh, my heart chakra space. Okay, cool. I'm into the 4th house space. We'll say it's in Pisces, for example. I have this planet, and this planet. And then you'll be able to tap further to learn about the house. You'll be able to tap further to learn about the planet. You'll be able to tap further and learn about the actual sign. And then just to be extra, we'll like have you have the ability to be able to tap and look at the constellation and fixed star that angles. And you'll just keep going deeper, deeper, deeper into the universe. And then someone else is probably going to do virtual reality because we don't want to do that because we want you to be able to do it yourself because you can do it. And we don't want you to be lazy.
Yeah, virtual reality is just a trap.
Yeah, but augmented reality, that's another story. We might be having like wearables where it's like, oh, just let me see my chakras real quick. But, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, that's the direction we want to take it in, you know?
Yeah,
like
just building a whole system, a whole database where everything is consolidated. Everyone can come and hang out. Building a community. Mercury in Pisces is getting to me, man. Trying to talk.
I completely forgot Mercury was in Pisces.
when did that happen? That was like last week, right?
That was last week.
Yeah.
I know, yo. I feel like the planets, ever since things went right, all those retrogrades finished, like life is moving fast now. Life is moving so much faster.
Those retrogrades were horrible.
Say it again.
The retrogrades were horrible.
Man.
Oh yeah, this one was, you know what's interesting? I feel like this was one of the more brutal retrogrades.
Oh my God.
Yet for me, it was one of the simplest ones. And I honestly believe that it's only time that has like changed that for me. Because if I'm being honest, most retrogrades, I tried to work against them, even if knowingly. But this time, I actually just stopped.
Yeah.
This is the first time, if I'm being honest, like in all my life, that I actually just said, I'm going to stop. I think it was about the winter solstice. And like I said, in human design, half my unconscious side of my chart is like Capricorn. So that winter solstice, that Capricorn season, I was like, you know what, Cap? I'm going to try to pretend that you're a woman. You're a woman for once. I'm going to actually try to pretend you're a feminine energy. And I'm going to just rest. I'm going to stop treating you like this machine who wants to just push like a train. And I'm gonna listen and say, okay, you know what? You're a feminine energy for a reason. Let me try feminine properties. Let me try to, instead of working towards my goal, let me just plan on paper and just stay still and not act on it.
Yeah.
And you know, the magic of that is, like I said, I feel like this was a harder retrograde as well for me, but it was the easiest, like only because I listened this time. That was the only thing that has changed. I just listened and I was like, all right, if I plan during this winter solstice, by the time Aries season comes, I'm going to be unstoppable. And I like being unstoppable. So let's just listen to this one.
I mean, the biggest thing with these retrogrades is that, you know, Mercury goes retrograde every couple months, Mars and whatever, but they were like
not 6 retrogrades.
They were like
Fuck
6
that.
retrogrades. And the biggest thing,
big planets too. Pluto, Jupiter, Chiron.
Great. I mean, we had Pluto and Uranus retrograde too, but they're outer planets, and their influences aren't super strongly felt until like the moon or something comes around and conjuncts them. But dude, having Jupiter and Saturn go retrograde at the same time was killer. Like it was.
I think the Uranus and the North Node hit too, though. Just both of them being like that. Like I feel like fate had to turn so much. You know what I mean? It's like it's like trying to take a sharp turn, but you're going too fast. And Taurus is like, slow that ass all the way down. We have this big ass long curve, but it's a long curve. You have to go slow enough or you'll fall off the rails. And I feel like it's because part of that North Node and just Uranus was kind of working together in that sense. Like, because, you know, Scorpio being in the South Node, it's like, that's a lot of shit for people to deal with.
Yeah.
That whole time, like, it's like, yo, if anything, that's underworld, right? Like, that's the stuff we all tuck under the rug. And it's like, we all tucked a lot of stuff under the rug in the meanwhile of, because now you got, right? Because you got the eclipses was crazy. Like back and forth between Taurus and Scorpio eclipses over and over. That has such a, I just feel like it takes so much time to start to recover from how much that slowed us down.
Divorces during that time, it was insane.
Yeah, it was insane.
I was
getting mad divorces.
Divorced about husband right now. I was like, I'm sure you are.
Dude, it was crazy. Everybody was feeling it. Even if they weren't aware of it, they were feeling it.
Oh, oh. So this is you'll like this. So yeah, he already knows. So basically, a really great fixed star to celebrate right around November 2nd and November 3rd is Mimosa Day. Figure out how you should celebrate that.
Wait. Say that again, because I was half reading a comment over on the right. Say it again.
Yeah. So a really great fixed star to celebrate, like a fixed star day, is November 2nd to the 3rd, which is Mimosa Day. How do you think
November 2nd to the 3rd. How do you celebrate Mimosa Day? Wow, I'm trying to think what season that is. That's around what? That's like in the Scorpio season and going into Sag too.
That's like middle Scorpio, yeah.
Middle Scorpio.
About a third of the way in, yeah.
But the answer is in the name.
Mimosa.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how you celebrate it.
Drinking mimosas.
We drank mimosas all day that day.
Man, I got.
Remember this.
Cause it. Did he say mimosa?
Yeah.
Mimosa Day.
Did he say mimosa? Yes.
Damn right I did. Mimosa Day.
Remember,
The strain, the drink, the terpene profile, whatever you want.
Dude, we were so excited about this. We had it marked on the calendar.
Yeah, we had it marked on our calendar for like over a year.
What was your experience like?
I was drunk. We were just drinking mimosas, like working on astrology videos all day. Yeah, that's just how it is. I like DM literally every famous astrologer I knew, be like, "Are you drinking a mimosa today?" None of them knew what I was talking about for obvious reasons, because we're inventing.
Yeah.
But like, still, I had a good time. I was like, "Yo, Mary, drink a mimosa. Yo, Alyssa, yo, drink a mimosa. Yo, old person, drink a mimosa."
Also, the Day of the Dead.
Yeah, that's your realm.
I know. I'm over here in Mexico. It's a thing. It hit. I mean, it decorated every market. I mean, my lady's Mexican as well. So like, I come home one day and we got the whole theme up in the house. I was like, "What's happening?" She's like, "Day of the Dead." And I was like, "Oh," right? Like it was a whole brand new theme for me.
Dude,
man.
Wait, that's on Mimosa.
Say it again.
That's on Mimosa Day.
Apparently. I mean, this is news to me.
Yeah, that's what she said.
That's what she said, and I'm pretty sure she's familiar. I know she got her Hispanic root somehow, some way. So I'm pretty sure she's right on point. If I'm not mistaken, she's a 3-5 like Mike.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at my
Matter of fact, Joe, do you know your profile?
I don't know the numbers. I just know manifesting generator.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Joe's a 2-5 or a 4-5.
I'm something. I'm gonna look it up.
I don't think 4-5 was possible, so it likely would have been more 2-5 if it's between the two.
I don't know a whole lot about it. Maybe we'll have to have a whole conversation about it later.
Oh,
yeah.
So it's like, in the case you want to do something later, for like the whole twin breakdown. Damn. That comment was crazy. But whatchamacallit?
What's the twin thing?
Yeah. Well, I got a whole tangent about that for why we're on that day. But whatchamacallit? So for the whole twin thing is me and Mike over here, we're actually born 4 days apart. Yeah. So I always joke that I'm his real twin.
Yeah.
No crap, really?
Yeah.
So your Mercury landed in Cancer as well?
We other than the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, we have like the same exact chart.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like planets.
So that's super. It's super incredible to see, like, because I'm imagining your Mercury is not 12th house, because you can tell the difference of just your voice and the projection, and like Mike has more of a reserved nature until he's not, right? Like it's like.
Yeah.
And I say that because I've seen some of your YouTube videos as well, and like I see like when that passion is rolling, you can see that cardinal energy of Capricorn. I'm sorry, Cancer still roll out, but man, I love me some Cancer. I want to ask you this. This is separate from all the fixed star and constellation. What's your favorite zodiac sign?
For what? Just in general?
Just if you had to pick one with no background information, what's your favorite zodiac sign? Not
Aries.
Thinking about one inside of a planet or Venus or Jupiter, just the sign itself.
Just Aries.
Yeah,
Aries.
I like Aries or Scorpio. Yeah,
I like going fast and just like bashing through things way too much.
I would have to say
I feel you.
I probably lean more towards the Scorpio side because I like it. Like I like, just chilling and taking it easy, whatever. And then when you got it, just go like 110%.
Oh, I got a good story about Aries. So this is the Boulder Canyon in Colorado, being a dickhead.
Yeah.
So what should we call it? So the way we became friends is through rock climbing, and basically what happened is like I was like I travel around. Like I've been climbing for over 10 years, so I've been in the global climbing scene for like a while now. This is like I was talking about this when I was down in like Monterey area, like climbing in Mexico. But basically what happened is I finally took him on a trip because I was like, yo, you stop climbing this little gym bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You got to climb big shit. And so we were out in like Denver because one of our buddies lived in Denver. And we were out in Boulder Canyon, right? Because the day before we climbed like a 2,000 foot tall like mountain, and we oversaw like Boulder and Denver. It was cool. And that was your first taste of big wall climbing. No, he caught the bug. He caught the bug. And basically, this is a story about why I love Aries and not love Aries at the same time.
Yeah.
Basically, we were in this place called Boulder Canyon, and it's interesting because like the different color of the rocks like sort of like explain the different energies, because it's like in Boulder, like the flat irons, it's like a nice, like lovely, like jovial energy, more Gemini. But once you get into Boulder Canyon, it's like fuck you, Capricorn energy. So basically what happened is I was walking around, and like per usual, it's like when I see people on a climb ahead of me, I get really irritated because I want to do it. I know I can do it faster. I know I can send it faster, and I know I can be up and down and take 3 people with me and just do it better, faster, more efficiently, have more fun, just everything better. Why I love Aries. So whatchamacallit? So basically what happened is I was getting mad irritated, and I was like walking back and forth, being like, I want to go climb. And basically what happened is the Capricorn energy in the rock said, oh, you have a lot of hot shit right now, huh? Let me take you down a notch. So basically what happened is I'm walking back, I step on this one boulder that like literally just like it looked fine when I walked over it the first time, but like I just hit it weird, and I basically dislodged it, and like I knocked this boulder, and it basically sent me rolling down the hill with the boulder. And then what happens to me is I get caught on this tree, and basically my leg is in like 127 hours type of situation where it's between this like little canyon, and the rock literally rolls right over my leg. A boulder rolled over my leg in Boulder Canyon. How could you guess that? You know what I'm saying?
So, but what makes this like a million times better is that he had an ankle brace in his backpack. I don't know why.
Well, because I broke my ankle with you like 3 times separately, and I know it happens because I'd be a dickhead sometimes.
You just gotta leave the brace in the backpack, you know?
Yeah. So him and my buddy are literally watching this happen while it rolls over my leg, and I just get up like all pissed off, and they're just like, oh, he's fine. And then like I literally get up, put the ankle brace on, and I'm like, all right, let's climb this climb because these fuckers took too goddamn long, and I want to send it.
Yeah.
And then we still got down before they did. How do you figure that? You want to know why? My favorite zodiac sign, Aries.
I love the backstory just to explain how amazing Aries is. I mean, like,
yeah,
like I said, I mean, like, I feel like I almost feel like I had to like press invalid for myself to choose Aries, only because I mean, I'm a stellium of Aries. I feel like my bias is almost like I'm always gonna choose myself, and I just have most of my life. If I'm being, you know what I mean? Like if I'm being real, like I just choose myself to the point where I didn't recognize that it was such a strength. Like I had no idea until externally people started, making certain projections, and I'm starting to realize, and I'm like, oh crap! Like I didn't even realize that. What life was like outside of how I saw the world. I mean, if I'm being honest, like the way I saw the world was very subjective. Like it just was. And if I look at it now, I feel like I've been kind of playing with this, but I really feel like my favorite sign up to date is Cancer, bro. And it surprised me. Well, for starters, it took me the time to realize what it meant to have my Mars in Cancer. It took a long time, right? And it's like
natal Mars conjunction.
So literally my Cancer is running all my Aries. Like literally like it's in control, and I'm a Scorpio rising. And so my Cancer is in Mars. So it's like Cancer still has this domain even within my Scorpio. And I just started kind of respecting how did my Cancer make my Aries and my Scorpio 1,000 times better. Like it's almost like a fulcrum. on a seesaw. If I got Aries on the left and Scorpio on the right, Cancer is like this gluing element.
You're
And
doing the Alrisha pose again.
you said Orisha?
Oh, the Alrisha, the star.
Oh, you said Orisha. I thought you said Orisha, like the deities and like Haitian culture, like the shamans.
Nah. We already had problems with Papa Legba. But
yeah, oh my God, let me start on that again.
Wait, what happened? What happened?
Basically, I had
someone cast some voodoo on him.
Yeah, basically, I had like it was either a dream or a meditation of where Papa Legba popped up.
A year ago.
And and basically what happened was like I was meditating and I had like a bunch of like cords and stuff attached to my back, like trying to like brain me. And then Papa Legba showed up and he was like, I don't want to do this, man. I'm not trying to do this. Someone's making me do it. So then I kind of like, set him free from all that and like got rid of everything and found out someone was trying to do some voodoo on me. Yeah, my dreams and meditations go super deep.
No, I get it. I get it. Are you familiar with Baba Luai?
No.
Regale us.
I mean, like, so it's one of the deities that works through me, and like they have some. You know what's interesting? It's like they have some strange rules and regulations when you talk Orishas, in these cultures. I don't know the specific one you just spoke of, but what's interesting is like these deities. What's nice is they always have some kind of loophole where they kind of gotta suffer in some sense. Like they don't just have like they're not like these almighty powerful things. Like they all have their own like something's pulling them down. Like something keeps their power like grounded in a sense. Where they have a lot of power, but they also in some ways they have to respect humans in a way. They have this cord where they can't just take over just because they're gods. It's kind of like a failsafe. That's the word. It's like a failsafe almost. But yeah, Baba Luai, one of the things he works with, he's like skin diseases. He takes like skin diseases for like all of humanity. Like he will go through, and I've seen this within myself. And it's kind of like linked to a lot of my Capricorn energy, part of the skin. I have Libra energy, part of the skin, right? And it's like, I realized that when I'm out of integrity, I get skin diseases. It's a very simple fail-safe. It kind of lets me know when I don't catch it consciously, but my skin is having some sort of reaction. And I'm talking like I get random ones. Like he has all of these skin reactions. So sometimes I don't know what the hell it is, right? Like I'm just like Benadryl. Like I got to keep Benadryl in stock sometimes because it's not just simply about like if you're in integrity or out of integrity, but it is. Especially even with like food. Like if I know I eat something that I know, like if I look at human design, for example, my taste is closed taste. So I don't have to touch a food. I don't have to try a food. I know when my body's going to reject it. But sometimes it looks good anyways, and I eat it. Immediately my skin will flame. Immediately. But beyond that, he has a whole bunch of other shit. I mean, he's like this all-knowing wisdom type guy at the same time. Like it's kind of a little bit like Mike. That's why I was resonating with his story earlier, where like he just has knowledge. He just has occult knowledge. And there's no rational explaining of why he has it at all. But the thing is, he has like these social contracts. So you can't like, and I had to learn this. Like, it's like when I would know something ahead of time and I would tell humanity or people before they were ready, I also get punished. And I had to start learning like there's timelines. Again, it's Capricorn, timelines. And like I had to realize like I can't say certain things before people are ready without getting punished.
So I've come across that where I learned certain things and like figured certain things out. And some of the times I was told, be like, yo, don't say anything for a little while.
I know.
Like, yeah, I can't talk about that right now, Like you just figure it out,
It's hard though because it's so tempting, right? Like in first you're like, I'm like so passionate about the new piece of information. I'm like, oh my God, I want to say it. And I realized I had to attract a lot of people. Like I had to attract a lot of relationships where I saw from the outside of myself of what's the danger of having so much knowledge or wisdom and sharing it before it's time. And I started seeing consequences from people that I've met. And then I started realizing, oh shit, they were reflecting me. Like my spirit was trying to tell me I need to learn to shut the fuck up. Like that was the simple reality. It was like, you need to learn when to stop talking, bro. Like you must. And when Joe talked to me, we had a convo with Joe on the phone earlier, and he was like, Venus or Jupiter, and I was like, Saturn. And he was like, what? And it's like, no one picks Saturn as like the one that, and I'm like, yeah, but my Saturn return, it really trained me. It taught me, it was like, yo, You respect these laws and these regulations and these restrictions, or else. And I was like, look, I finally learned, but it took a whole side of return.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember talking about that when we were talking about manifesting with Saturn versus Jupiter. And and that ties back to your understanding of like Alrisha when you put that together. Oh, but what you call it? When you were talking about like the social contracts between these certain like deities and entities, that kind of sparked the understanding. Well, here, this is literally I'm literally about to talk about this.
Yeah.
So literally, when we're talking about all these deities and all this stuff, it's literally you always have to look back to the origin, right? Because you have to understand that like if all these deities have like earth-based like allegories and they're basically like a different face of like a planet, like Nabad just said, you like the reason why they have those social contracts is because if they only have allegories and like stories and their like mental images only created on Earth, they only get power from Earth, right? So this is like you need to understand like the origin of that like spirit or that deity. Because it's like, for lack of a better term, you gotta go back to the dealership and pick a better spirit to rock with because that's only getting energy from Earth, and I'm sure you want intergalactic energies. So that's basically like the background on that.
Well, no, 1,000%, 1,000%. That's why I feel like when you look like Gemini, when you're speaking about bouncing off this, it's like we got to be able to be willing to open our minds enough to accept it from many facets. Because like you said, I don't want to be bound to Earth. Like, honestly, I'd rather kill myself if I was like, if anything, when I was younger, like, and I'm going to say this openly, like, I feel like suicide or thoughts of suicide when you're young and you're going through these original ego death, spirit deaths, human death, call it what you want. It's like, do you really want to kill yourself physically? Most likely not. It's like some part of you is out of alignment and it wants to die. Right. Yeah. So I just want to kind of say that as a precursor to like, oh my God, my kid's suicidal, or oh my God, I'm suicidal. It's like, are you really? And the reason I say that is like, to add in all these intergalactic superpowers, these human-based social contract deity powers, the fact that you're a CEO, basic bitch power, whatever, like in a corporation, right? Call it what you want. I find like it's super important to like, just open our hearts, open our minds, open our souls to just understanding that, like, look, you can bounce from this and understand that, okay, I have a little bit of Babalu Iami, but he doesn't run my entire life. You know what I mean? Like not all my gifts come from him and not all my curses come from him, but some of them are active.
Yeah. You can get a little something out of it, and I'm sure
I think a little something, because I mean, he got some benefits, I mean, the skin thing sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate the skin thing. It's annoying as hell. But he got some benefits, man. Like, oh man. So is there any other? I guess the final question I'll ask before we move out of here. Are there any other deities that you've discovered that link to certain fixed stars? And if not, elaborate on the archangels, because I mean I practice angelic Reiki, for example, and it's like, I mean, and so I'm already personally interested in which fixed stars are going with which archangels, because I mean, why not?
Your playlist about it too.
Yeah, and he just did the variation of, I guess, when we're talking about different allegories of certain spirits. He just did the variation of the
Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
That.
Yeah. So the thing when it comes to looking at the archangels is and people want to say, oh, where did they come from? Where did this energy? The reason why we view them the way that we do is because, like, with wings and everything, they're supposed to represent like high thoughts, high feelings, high vibrations, and kind of leveling up in a sense. So Michael represents, or Aldebaran is the star of Michael. Regulus is the star of Raphael. That's in the Leo constellation. Antares is the star of Uriel, which is in the Scorpio constellation.
The heart of Scorpio.
Yeah. And then Formahalt is the star. It's in Pisces, with the mouth of the southern fish, I believe. And that represents Gabriel. So they rule over like the zodiac wheel, the seasons, spring, summer, winter, and fall.
Would you mind saying that again? I was trying to type it for people to remember. Right now I got Antares is Leo, Michael is Aldebaran.
No, Antares is Uriel. That's in Scorpio.
Yeah.
Regulus is in Leo.
Yeah, so I didn't know you're trying to.
Oh, my bad. I did that wrong. Gabriel is Pisces. Is that on?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So Gabriel's Pisces.
The star.
Antares is who?
Antares is Uriel. It's
Okay,
in the
Uriel.
constellation.
Okay, cool. Who was Michael was Aldebaran?
Aldebaran, and
Aldebaran.
it's the solar plexus of the Orion constellation, but we view it as like the right eye of Taurus, just based on
Solar plexus and Orion. And I remember you saying that about your 16-degree moon, right? In Gemini?
He's
9
9 degree.
yeah.
I'm 16.
Yeah.
9. Okay, cool. And then who
Raphael was Regulus, which is in Leo.
Raphael, thank you. Regulus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm spelling all these wrong, so
That's
y'all
okay.
gonna have to figure that out. and that's closest to Leo, the Raphael Regulus Leo.
Yes, the heart of the lion.
That's really cool because we know Raphael part of the green part linked with the heart chakra. You got Leo being the heart, right? Gabriel in tarot is the moon card. A lot of times it has that moon energy as well, and you got Pisces being the moon linked in energy, even in tarot. I don't know what tarot, but I'm talking more Kabbalah, like the Hermetic tarot specifically. I don't know about all tarot. That's the only one I really rock with personally. But okay, cool. No, that was cool. That was really cool to kind of make hopefully some people put some pieces together for themselves. Because if we start really looking, from a broad perspective, these things always match in these different systems, right? Like even if I just take tarot in a moment, it's like this is matching some of the Hermetic tarot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm specifically saying Hermetic tarot. I can't speak for all the tarot. I'm not a professional tarot reader. I can't tell you that from that perspective. But please do finish your sentence. I'm sorry. I just wanted to write that for people prior.
Oh yeah, no problem. That's all good. So yeah, I mean, the other thing too you can dive into is actually kind of like what their roles are in our lives and how they kind of influence spirits in general. So they all have like basic certain tasks that they do. So like if you actually look at like Raphael and what Raphael does, he's like a healer and also like the regulator. So like and his star, his name is Regulus. So it's like Raphael kind of deals a lot with like when we die, like where are we moving to? What are we doing after we, our physical body dies and we're, looking to incarnate somewhere else. Uriel is all about knowledge and wisdom and also kind of learning those experiences. And then Gabriel's kind of the one about, this is kind of, when I tell people this, it's kind of like they get freaked out a little bit because Gabriel has to do with death and transformation, but it's also more about like messages and actually doing what you have to do to actually transform. So, death is just a construct. I like to view it more as a transformation. Like when your physical body dies, you're more so transforming, moving into a new space, being able to actually incarnate somewhere else perhaps. Or anytime you like lose a job or something or anything, dies, the better way to look at it is actually transforming and moving on to something better. And then Michael has a lot to do with like moving on and actually when you're ready for a new space, actually pushing you and healing into a better space, like moving on to a different planet or dimension of reality. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's a great comment. I love that.
It's true.
No, that was a good point you put. Even with Pisces, the thing that came to my mind was like 12th house, kind of like the end of karma, like the end of suffering in a sense. It's like, okay, there's this transition, like, right? If something ends, the energy is now transferring, right?
Yeah.
It's like
archangels are core zodiac signs, and Gabriel is Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces.
Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces.
Yeah,
those are the houses
last four.
that gave birth to.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So specifically more like 10th house, 11th house, 12th house.
It goes super deep, man.
So is there order? So 1, 2, 3 would be
Michael. Yeah. So
Michael.
It also depends on how if you're looking at it from the physical perspective. I know we talked about the as above, so below earlier, but from the physical perspective, Michael's 1, 2, 3, Raphael's 4, 5, 6, Uriel's 7, 8, 9. I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast. Looks like you're typing.
No, you're good.
And then Gabriel is 11 or 10, 11, and 12. But if you look at it from the spirit world and reverse it, Gabriel is actually 1, 2, 3, Uriel is 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. And it actually comes to Michael being last of the 10, 11, and 12.
Kind of how Joe was saying earlier with Aries being last.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The spirit.
No, that makes total sense. I forget what one of these texts I was reading a long time ago, but I was hearing how a system where Leo began the zodiac, where Aries was the last fire and Sag was the middle. and Leo was the first. I don't even know what system that was, to be honest. And it was like, I read it like very briefly. Like it was just something that was like, I saw how it couldn't make sense, and then was just like, okay, and I left it where it was. It never came back.
Mm. Well, that was kind of a little tangent. To your original question about like other deities, like in stars or whatever. I definitely met like other deities or beings that you would call deities, but nothing like on like that angel level, you know? Because I mean, every star, every planet does have its own like spiritual being that we view a certain way, but nothing I would really call, I guess, a deity. I mean,
Sure.
We're all our own deities, but
So I do have a different question, and maybe this brings something different. Are there any of these stars or constellations that have correlations or relationships to dragons?
oh, a lot of them.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple constellations that are serpents. The main one that people probably think of is Draco, which
That's
is
the one you're working on now, no?
Yeah, so I have a few years in the Draco constellation, but it's called the World Eater because the way that the constellation maps out, it actually wraps around the North Pole, and it's kind of like eating Earth. Oh, South Node and 90 degree.
What's the significance of that? Like, how would that translate into if we put the dragon wrapping around the pole into English? What does that signify?
Well, do you know like the phrase like someone's very draconian?
Okay. Yep.
It's basically like Draco's taking over. Like it kind of is eating our like little like galaxy or like little space going on, but it takes up like how many? It takes up like damn near half the.
Yeah. So the way because Draco is in like the North Pole of the Earth, when you actually look at it, it actually wraps around. It goes from Aries to Sagittarius. So basically covers like 2/3 of the or 3/4 of the zodiac.
Sure.
Yeah.
At least like
wow.
Yeah, at least like 8 houses. But when it comes to actually the meaning of Draco, a lot of people would say that it's like a very negative constellation, or with it being the World Eater, there's not a lot of good that comes out of it.
That goes back to Ptolemy's breakdown of it.
Yeah.
But what's your energetic understanding? Fuck the past. We gotta move on.
My energetic understanding. My whole standpoint on energy is you're the one using the influence, so you decide how to use it. So regardless of what the influences that the stars might have or the constellation might have, it all depends on your intentions and how you want to use it. So I mean, I personally don't like the Draco constellation because it's eating the world. It's late 90s, baby. You are correct. 98. But yeah, my whole standpoint on constellations and energy in general, how am I going to use it, and what is it trying to do to me? So, yeah, but I will say the Draco is not in my good favor.
It's not in your top. If you try to and maybe we'll move on to a different dragon that might be a constellation you're thinking of, but if you tried to put a color, like if you tried to like colorify Draco, what color would you say?
Green, blue, and pink, but like darker shades of that.
Oh, okay. So the darker shades is the key.
Yeah, colors go deep too, as I'm sure you're aware.
Absolutely. The fact that you said darker, you are aligning more with the whole World Eater concept, where if they were bright, now it changes the entire spectrum of what it might signify. But okay, if we move on from Draco, is there any other? And I'm saying it because dragons are probably I love dragons. Communicate with dragons more than any other thing, if I'm being honest. Like they talk to me. I have a yellow dragon that sits outside my house.
Oh, dude. No, I'm in good favor with a lot of dragons. Draco's just not one of them. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually not super aware of another dragon constellation. Draco just pops into my mind because I'm working on it. But I mean,
sure.
And like seen dragons and stuff, and we're all it's all good.
Everybody's got a dragon.
Yeah, everybody has a pet dragon. You
just gotta create it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that so dragons do, like, a lot of the times people view them as like world eaters and like symbols of destruction and chaos, but they can also be like protectors too. It's like two opposite ends of the spectrum. Like you have this giant beast that like no one's gonna mess with it. Like it's a dragon. What are you gonna do?
I mean, you could argue that Cetus is a dragon, but it's more like
is that a serpent? The word like a
no. Cetus is the river monster that flows in the river Eridanus.
That's yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole so many stories depending on like that's like a whole story that's based off like the what does that go to? That goes from that's like from the second. No, that's from like the first all the way to the third house. That story.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I might as well tell it. But so basically, like in between the first, third, and like second house space, there's like a very like Archangel Michael story, which is the king Cepheus tied up the well, he like bound like the daughter of like the kingdom of the stars, Andromeda, to basically give her up as an offering to the river monster Cetus to save the gods, because the river monster Cetus flew in the river Eridanus or whatever.
Yeah.
And basically, like that whole story, like it gives you more insight to the influence of those constellations, because at the end of the day, like constellations live in the space of the seventh, eighth, and ninth dimension, which is where experience is created. And then in purgatory, which is 4, 5, 6, experience is perpetuated, which is why when you vibrate high enough and you become a fifth dimensional being, you get what I call esoteric toll booths, which is a planet, aka a esoteric river flow of experience that you don't control, you don't own, but you moderate, and you get that energy based off of like lower beings such as us actually using that energy. So for example, Mars is like that. So more people that get more energy on that like the more you as a spirit get people on that energy flow, then you level up and gain higher, right? So it's the equivalent of esoteric affiliate marketing.
Sure, that's dope. No. I was speaking about this in completely different language just like yesterday. A complete different language, right? Like you have your own language for it, and you're 1,000% on point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Similar
man. This is
constellations and stuff. It can be kind of tricky because there's a lot of what's the word? I guess predated notions of what certain images mean, and then you kind of have that in your mind. It kind of messes how you perceive something.
Is this kind of like Sabian symbols? Is that what I'm reading?
What?
No.
Question.
Oh, symbolic.
It says, have you guys seen this? Have you guys seen the channel Symbolic Studies by Mario Gorza? He loves breaking down all the depictions of the constellation maps.
I have not, but I will have to check that out afterwards.
Yeah,
it sounds like something that will.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't really like look at other people's depictions of it or breakdowns.
All this information is from us.
Yeah, it's right there.
No, and this is what's so somebody asked earlier, like, are these late 90s babies? This is what the late 90s babies going in even to like the 2000s and up. They're not incarnating stupid. This is like, I know that seems like a what the F comment in the beginning, but what I'm saying is like their souls, as we keep babies that are born, closer to now, their souls are not having to go through so much burning of karma. Like they're karmically being reborn ahead of time in a sense, where they're not needing to do so much work that our parents and our grandparents had to do to break the matrix. It's like they're born outside the matrix. They can choose to step in the matrix. That's a choice, right? But it's like they're born more able to not be bound by the matrix as a whole. And so
this is what I was saying to you. Like I always say, like I never went to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I wouldn't say not being born stupid. I would say being born aware. However, like I'm sure people always talk about free will. I don't like to say that you have free will. I like to say that you have the capacity for free will.
Yeah.
Because when it gets down to it, of like what you just said about people stepping into the matrix, I wouldn't really say it's a choice for most people, because a lot of us are determined by our parents or society, the way government is pushing everything on us. So a lot of times for as a kid, it's not that they don't have free will, they kind of lose it. They kind of become products of what everybody's pushing on them. And then you go into the steps of like waking up and getting out of that and becoming your own person.
1,000%. I mean, it's a flux.
Yeah.
I mean, it's these waves that are always working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's waves always working. You know what really like opened a lot for me is when, I mean, like 6 years ago or so, I left the States and I'm meeting 9-year-old, 14-year-old billionaires, like who are making their own, but it's like, I'm also at the same time, this is also me living in Bali, right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, their parents already stepped out of wherever they came from and you know, they're not going to school. They're not in these same indoctrinated systems. There's different indoctrinated systems, but what I realize is like, you know, when I'm in Thailand, I don't speak Thai, right? At least not at first. So it's like I'm not growing into what the indoctrination of Thai people would be like. It's same thing while I'm here in Mexico now. It's like, you know, even though I speak Spanish, I don't understand it to the extent of someone natively speaking Spanish. So it's like I'm like almost I became a little bit more shielded, if you will, to what the indoctrination of the culture I might actually be in. And there's this gap in between. So the reason I give that as a precursor is like if I was obviously born in the States, right? But when I step out of the States and I kind of look back in through this like looking glass, it's just at least from what I can see, it's like even from there, you know, looking at Pluto and Capricorn, for example, about to implode. It's like 29 degrees now. Those same systems they're not gonna last. You know, the Pluto aquas that are being born, they're not being born into the same indoctrinations. Like they're in a sense, they're being born more liberated already, right? And I've been finding that the as the years, people being born in 2000, 2010, like I think my sister was born in like 2000 and I don't even know anymore. I lose track, like 2005, right? And it's like I have a sister born in 2005, and it's like they're not bound, even though they're in school. I call her and I'm like, "What are you doing picking up the phone?" And I'm like, "What?" Like me, because I'm not working on a regular work day. And she's like, "Oh," and just the things I'm hearing from her is like, school is not school anymore. That's my point. You know what I mean? It's like the restrictions that were restrictions are no longer. They're not existing in the same fashion that when our parents and their parents were born. And I just feel like we're all being born a little bit more free, even if all of that trap exists around us.
Well, I mean, that also kind of comes to like as you complete lifetimes and as you work to free yourself from Earth and you keep coming back, you're coming back more. Well, you should be coming. Hopefully, you're coming back.
Hopefully,
with a higher vibrational state than you had last time. And so, as more and more people do that, the whole vibration of Earth changes.
Yeah, 1000%. Like even if you look at numerology, like a lot of the double digits are not. They're just coming back at single digits.
Yeah.
There's less work. That's kind of you just said exactly what I was trying to say in a whole different way, like a little earlier. This Mercury in Pisces got mad confusing, huh? I just realized Mercury is literally in Pisces.
The thing with Mercury in Pisces, like they might not make any sense, but you're gonna feel what they're saying anyway.
1000%. 1000%.
I feel
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, gentlemen, is there a closing note that you would like to give to us? Is there anything you would like to show us? Anything you feel that you would like to cover that was not covered? Now's the chance. Say something. Speak up. And take a moment. You know, there's no rush. And anybody in the chat, while they combobulate their ideas, anybody in the chat, ask questions. Okay, like you have a wealth of knowledge. Like just literally think of it. And this may seem egocentric. Call it what you want, but think for a moment. If you could ask God a question, what the hell would you ask? Take that opportunity to ask that question, because understand what we're saying. Mercury being in Pisces, we're not pulling from, you know, our human existence in this moment. You have three separate minds, three individual minds that can pull from pools that are completely infinite of information. So if you have a question, feel free to take the moment to ask while I have the guest here. And with that said, if y'all have something while they formulate questions, please do share.
I mean,
hey. Whoa, what up, Essel?
I mean, I don't really necessarily have a closing note. I mean, we could take the conversation for another like 10 hours in a whole bunch of different directions. So I mean, a snake cannot speak. No, but you know when it's mad, don't you?
You don't need to speak.
You don't gotta speak.
Don't make it come for your
it's
third
like
house.
It's like you know, spirits don't communicate with like words. They communicate with energy and signs, which is like when you see like numerology throughout the day or a random song pops on. It's not really a random occurrence, is it?
No.
Hey,
no, not at all. Not at all. No such thing as coincidences, no?
No.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This seems like the wrap, unless I see a question come up and then what I want to say for now, I added their email.
I got closing.
Okay. Huh? You got a closing message?
Oh yeah. So
Oh, hit me.
the whatchamacallit. So well, I just remembered a point from the Dia de los Muertos that I wanted to bring up, and then
Okay.
I got the closing thing. So
Okay.
basically, with that being on November 2nd to the 3rd, you have to like Mexico is a very Christian country, right?
Catholic, I think.
Catholic. Yeah, so even better. So Mimosa is actually a part of the Crux constellation or the Crucifix constellation. So it's very interesting that it aligns on that actual day. And then the other thing is be very aware about how the powers that be are using stars and astrology against you. Because, for example, on Juneteenth, aka the day about that's all like, remember, like it's like I call it mini Black History Month, I guess, Black History Day.
Right.
But basically, Juneteenth is the day that the sun angles Polaris, aka the North Star, right?
At this point in time.
At this point in time, because
Caveat.
that's a whole other thing with some
I
stars.
have a video about Polaris and stuff on the channel too. I'll go into that whole like North Star thing.
Yeah, so it's just like not only was the North Star that slaves from the South were trying to use to escape North, but it's also once they did escape North, it was like the main like here we're all free now like magazine type of thing, like the North Star actual magazine. So think about like the day of like Juneteenth, Emancipation Day, being like not like it was like, oh great, you guys were emancipated on the day of the star you're following, but now they're making you celebrate that star. And in some weird ways, even though like slavery's like shifted to like wage slavery now and all that stuff, they're still making you chase that energy for and charging it up with a negative reason based off of what you were originally chasing it for, per se. So just be aware how the powers that be use astrology and all that stuff against you. And then also use it for yourself. You have access to the same information. You want to know who's giving out that information? Hi. So basically, with that case, if you really want to learn your fixed star, learn your superpowers, learn all that energy, hit us up. Get a fixed star reading. We'll show you how to do it. We'll show you how to use it. We'll show you how to make some things shake with that energy and give you your superpowers and the tools that you already created for yourself. And then if you want a solar map, go on our website or hit us up directly if you want a. Where's the physical? Can you grab a physical one? Right on here. Bam. But yeah, and then get a physical solar map so you can look at your chart and understand all aspects of astrology and basically break it down for yourself. Learn your chakras. Learn your spiritual understanding of your chart. Learn your actual energies and figuring out how the influences can affect you medically, physically, spiritually, as well as awesomely.
What did I say about Pisces moving to Aries 2026?
But yeah, that's about it. It was just a solid question.
Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011, 2012, and we'll move into Aries by 2026, I believe. 2025, I'm pretty sure. I think all are born before then will have a memory of the way it was prior to the illusion of Neptune.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts about that. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to put it.
I mean, I could take
remember, Mercury's in Pisces. Just let it flow through you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, basically, I sort of look at it based off the powers that be sort of using it against you. It's just like how people like there's no like you can't talk to your grandpa that fought in World War II anymore. Like they're all dying. All these people are like from the old world are kind of like in these upshifts. They're like their karmic contracts are under, and they're just popping back off into the spirit world, being like, "Well, I did my thing. Catch y'all later."
It's either that or they have to kind of change the whole worldview that they had at the time, which is not a very easy circumstance to go through, especially as you get older.
Yeah, and then it's also like people born during that time, they also are born like with like good knowledge of the illusion. So it's like they're never really gonna like fully know like what is and what isn't in a sense. And that's like an interesting state to like live in because it's just like how, why, what do I do with this? What am I going to do? Is it real? Is it not? And then if they don't come to the own conclusion of like, let me build on my own dream or continue to work towards my own dream, then nothing will ever like make sense. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like once Neptune moves into Aries, like to be honest with you, I'm more worried about Saturn in Aries personally because that's when everything's like going to go to shit for lack of a better term.
Saturn, falls in Aries. Aries doesn't like structure, doesn't like plan, it just wants to run through the door because it wants to.
Yeah, and then Saturn and Pisces. Oh, that's what I always say about Capricorns born in like my generation who are like 24 is like I don't trust them. Because basically, all Capricorns that are born at my age usually have their Saturn in Aries. So it's like if your ruling planet is in its fall and its sign of destruction, it's like anything you say about politics, structure, and all that stuff is rooted in like, so whether you know it or not, subconsciously like burning down whatever we got going on. You know what I'm saying?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Y'all heard him. Y'all heard him today. Don't trust Capricorns with a Saturn and Aries. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't take that so broad. But essentially, that was the message, and it really does resonate of how, you know, they may not understand the natural energy of integrity from a Capricornian and structured based manner, rather than their own perception of what integrity might be, right, or what responsibility might be. And generally, their responsibility is to themselves and not to the collective. But Capricorn is like, look, I'm responsible for the collective, not for myself. So I can see how that could play on people. I do believe that it's going to be a big shift. You know, it's one of those things where, like, when I look at generational planets, okay, or the big ones, right, that the Plutos, the Neptunes, I feel like closing an entire cycle, you said it like pretty much on point, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how long it takes for Neptune to go through a full cycle, to be honest. I know that it's
years.
Yeah, it's like 14 years.
Yeah, 14
years.
Yeah.
So by the time it goes to a full one, we're dead.
Oh, like all the way around? Yeah.
Oh,
Like
well,
everybody's dead. Like from the people that started it to the people that ended, they're all dead.
unless you're living until you're like 200, yeah.
Right. I think it's like 236 or something like that. So I think the key with this thing is like, you know, when we put it in Aries, consider it like this is the beginning of the next illusion, right? But not just the next illusion, but like the next census of love. Because, you know, Pisces, I feel like it's important to realize that Neptune is spirituality, right? It's not just illusion. The delusion is just to help us break into our souls, our spirit, like literally, like, and Aries does love authenticity. So I think this is something key to really remember, that like this new cycle, while Neptune steps into Aries, is going to help us reset all of the martyrdom that we may have experienced through a whole 200 plus years, okay, of the whole cycle. You know, how religion has pinned us down in this last 14 years, but how it's dissolving. I think it's the key to remember that Neptune is the great dissolver. So it might present an illusion in order to dissolve an old one. So when you add Aries or fiery energy, you're now bringing light, right? You're bringing light to what was hazy, foggy.
Yeah, well, the thing about Neptune is that it's all about dreams, nightmares, and illusions, and that's kind of up to you. Are you going to create a dream, an illusion, or are you actually going to look through the dream that's been presented to you?
Exactly. And the way I look at it, Aries is going to choose its own dream. Like, it's going to choose the direction instead of just listening to where should I go. But there's a lot of aspects to that. To be honest, that's like a whole different transit video that we would have to do a complete separate time, because I mean, you got to look at what else is in the sky, right? The North Node is going to be in Aries this year. All right. Like, that changes a lot when you start adding these different conjunctions. So, hey, ladies, gents, this was such a pleasure. Like they said earlier, I mean, we're talking about space. So there's never a real end point, right? Like, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. It never stops. So we'll break this segment here. Hopefully y'all gain some information, some knowledge. Take the time to go back if you came on the later end of this. House Lords and Medical Astrology. This is kind of what I mean. You know, we're gonna say this stuff for different lives. Maybe do a live specifically on medical astrology, specifically on House Lords, because otherwise we're gonna miss the boat with the 88 constellations and fixed stars. I do look to invite y'all again, because I know y'all say y'all building out your database, right? And so by the time that database builds, you'll move on from Draco, you'll figure out a next fixed star. And I imagine that you'll have more information to be able to give us on a complete different aspect, because you're literally pioneering this space.
I'm going
as
up
the modern day Ptolemies.
Yeah, I'm going up there and I'm bringing it down. You know, my videos just say I'm, giving you the tool to connect yourself right to the source, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I love it. 1,000%. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hitting this thumbs up and this like button. Definitely say, whatever you want to say to them. Check my bio. I have their website link to get your solar maps. I put in the description already, readings at solarsystems.org if you want to message them for a personal reading and figure out your fixed star. Beyond that, I'm going to talk to them backstage for 1 to 2 minutes, and we'll see you all soon. I love you. Thank you for being here.